What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dev Royale Patreon. I am Kevin, and I'm here to talk about CJ Stroud. So, I just posted the video where you saw we talked about Bryce Young, and we're looking at CJ Stroud. I think one thing that we want to do on the Dev Royale this year is we're going to really focus on that 2023 class. And as far as Devy goes, like we're going to focus on other things. But I think as far as Devy goes, you guys have played Devy, not C2C. You guys care about your NFL roster. And I think that's the more important thing. And most of you guys are bridging that gap between you don't really want to go to C2C quite yet, but you will go to the Devy and we'll see. So I think the 2023 class is important. And I think we're gonna really harp on that and where you can kind of get guys right now before they get drafted next year. I think that's always the goal, right? And so I had the two top quarterbacks here. So CJ and Bryce, wherever you decide, wherever they go, they're the top two guys. Now they had different opponents. So as I mentioned with Bryce, is he played Utah State, only played first half. You know, case may be, we saw what he was able to do. CJ on the other hand played Notre Dame, top 5 team, and whether you think they're a top 5 team is really up. It doesn't really matter. They play really well. They have a pretty good defense, and I think the world is kind of out all of a sudden at CJ. And CJ against Notre Dame, he did very well. He had 223 yards, 24 for 34, 2 touchdowns. I think the biggest thing that we see, and I saw a lot of bigger guys and a lot of big Devy people, and this is your QB1, and it's like, hey, listen, relax. Okay, I've seen a lot of noise about Anthony Richardson. Relax. Like there's some things that we need to know about CJ that he's just fine. He played a very good opponent in Notre Dame, better than Utah, better than Utah State, like better than the guys that we're thinking of that were playing around there. And I thought he looked pretty good. I think that offense has some work to do. Jackson Smith went out early, and they definitely were out of sorts a little bit, and they haven't. Word is based on, and I know that some Ohio State guys, and I've read enough people out there that say like the coaches aren't very happy with that young receiver crew that they brought in right now. They're not ready, and so you saw the walk on get a touchdown last game, and you saw those guys play well. So I think there is some question marks about that receiver room right now, especially when JSN went out. Right, we know Fleming's not the guy. I think Agbuka's fine, but he's a wide receiver too, auxiliary piece. Right now. So I think we got to be careful with like doomsday CJ. But if we watch what he kind of did, so if we're going through the tape, I mean, offensive line, definitely they got pressure on him. And so he definitely saw that. And you'll see it here. I mean, really nowhere to go, able to kind of tuck it down. I will say the one knock on CJ that I think is a legitimate knock is he doesn't run the ball. Okay. And I think that is the key for fantasy. Like if Bryce is going to elevate his game to that rushing attack and CJ's not, then Bryce is QB1 for fantasy. And it's that simple. I think one thing that I saw pretty, was different about CJ this game than I think he was in the past is like he really let the game come to him. So when you watch him, he's able to break it down, gets outside the pocket, and he's able to make plays, extending those plays. I think he looked a lot more calmer in those positions this year than he did in the last year and against one game, a big game. And this is the play that JSN, the dirty ass play on the sidelines that he got hurt. And after this, the offense took a little bit of a beating. You can see it here, kind of he really know where to go there. Was pass interference. I think he made the right decision based on the pressure that he was getting. It was really a throwaway. He got the wide receiver, the call. But this throw is on the money. And, it's just a drop. But if you're talking about, hey, what is CJ's ceiling? And remember, I'm not a CJ guy. So, I wasn't. I'm a Bryce QB1 type of guy. But I understand talent and where talent's at. And when you understand ceiling where he's at, this is a ceiling throw right here. We're going to go back. I know this is where he and I thought that, again, like I said, that's a good decision, especially with the pass interference. But this right here, this type of throw, when he steps up, sees his guy, obviously, and Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't have a great game, to be quite honest. But just look at that. There's nowhere else to put that ball. That placement was exactly where it needed to be. If he catches that, 7-3. Now we're talking about CJ again being a QB1. Like it's simple. It's just those little types of missed throws, and it wasn't even a missed throw. It was a drop ball. Like he should have caught that ball. If he's going to be wide receiver one of the class, as some people called him before the year, which we didn't on this show, but some people were calling it, then he needs to catch that. Again, you could see their offense was a little out because they kept trying to get Agbuka in space. Those are probably throws for JSN, who could do more after the catch. But again, he makes these throws right here, and you're like, oh, okay. So again, I'm a big fan of Agbuka. I hope you drafted him where I told you to draft him. I drafted third, fourth round. I thought he was a great value at a high volume offense. But you'll see it here again. Sees it, sees the area, knows where he's got to go. He looked down his receiver and he was still able to get it to him. So obviously we don't like the look down, but he was still able to get it to him based on that arm strength. And I think that's the key. But again, he did have some missed throws. So I think that's one area where people are going to harp on if they're not CJ guys. I think that could be where it's at, but he hits guys in the numbers. I think his arm strength has improved too. Like you're watching him here, he knows where he's going. I will say this, like he knows where he's going, and I watched this multiple times just to make sure I wasn't crazy as I rewatched the game. Like you can see him definitely stare down where he wants to go. Now, whether that's because of the injuries and kind of where he hasn't read through, I think Bryce has a step above him on his ability to kind of read defenses, but also go through their progressions. CJ doesn't necessarily go through all of his progressions. I know that, as Jeff always talks about in the pod, Ohio State's offense is predicated based on wide receiver options. So one thing that could be hurting CJ right now, and especially in this game, is the options weren't there, but also they could have they're not in tune yet. They haven't barely played together, new offense, JSN being out. Like these are the things that, new offensive players on the field, Lave gone, Wilson gone, that's what I meant. Like that could definitely hurt CJ a little bit. But you saw him get comfortable towards the middle and the end of the game. I think in that third and fourth quarter, we definitely saw a difference here. And you can see him here. He's able to get down. He was getting pressured all night, though. You'll see it here. He was getting pressured. Now, but this is right here. This is the difference, I feel like. So you'll watch the tape here between him and Bryce. So he has the ability here. Defender gets pushed inside. So you look at this, you see all this room right here. 74 could maybe chip this guy, get in the way. If CJ was just look at how much room he has to go here. And I think this is the knock. So if I'm looking at it from a perspective of a guy that's saying, okay, where's my knocks for him in terms of fantasy? This is knock. Look at how much space he has. He could have at least taken this off and shoot. If he doesn't want to go here, let's say he goes up the middle and he's able to get it 5-10 yards, but he has so much space. That's the knock. So that is the thing when we talk about him, and that's the thing that worries me a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that Bryce is going to do that every time because we know Bryce just did it one game, but he can at least extend plays that way. I think he has better vision, and maybe more better feel, right? I think that could also be the case for CJ. Now, again, he had to get the ball out quick because he's getting pressured by this defense. Not huge plays, but he took what was there. And I think that's the other thing. And I think Christian made the good point on the podcast is he made throws that he knew weren't going to get intercepted. The game was close. The defense was playing well. And he was like, I'm not going to lose this game for us. And I think that's area. Now, on the pod, Jeff talked about this throw, and we didn't have time to argue with him. But in this play, right here, Egbuka's coming right across. Jeff argued that he should sit here, I believe, on the pod. If CJ's looking at him and he hits him right here, it's a touchdown. And you'll notice it here. CJ sees him late because CJ, when he was watching this play, he was looking for something to develop here. And that's what we're talking about with that read, where he's just kind of doing that one read. This is where I want to go. If he gets him here, it's a touchdown. Like, and that's the reality. He just gets him right there. It's a touchdown. Instead, he throws behind him because the defender's there. I think that throw was on CJ more than it was on Egbuka. I know Jeff will say differently, but to me personally, I think that's where it's at. Then when JSN came back, we saw him kind of forcing it. The offense wasn't flowing as well. The rushing attack was a little weird. I know Mayan and Travion had good games, okay, but they didn't have great games. That again, forcing things, and his receivers aren't getting separation either. You'll notice it here. They're not getting separation. That's a throw right there that he did just to make sure that he wasn't intercepted. This was really their best play. Wide receiver screen, flare out. Like that's kind of what we saw them do. And that concerns, I'm sure, plenty of people here. This was one of his better kind of areas to kind of get over here, get out of his throws. This one into the one to Mayan Williams. So we did see him extend those plays, have that functional athleticism to get to the outside. This is a great throw. So this is the throw that you're like, damn. I mean, great catch by Mayan. But this was the throw that shows you what CJ can do. And I think that is like the excitement, the ceiling play. Again, he read it kind of good, but he gets this outside, boom, catches it on the sideline. Like that is a legit NFL throw. So I will say, like going through both films, Bryce had more NFL throws in his first game. CJ had, I think, NFL awareness. He also knew how to kind of dictate the game flow. but he didn't have NFL throws all the time. Like this one back shoulder throw, get it to him. Like I think he kind of he flew a couple over the receivers' heads. I thought he was a little timid when you watched him play, but overall, he got his team a win against a top 5 opponent, and he was able to kind of will his team, and that's what the quarterback's supposed to do. But again, missed. And again, he gets off platform, right? I mean, and he doesn't get his feet set when he makes this throw here. I know he's rushing, or he's scrambling, excuse me. But when you watch him here, like he has time. Get your feet set, right? Get your feet set and throw into it. He doesn't do that. Like, get your feet set. Bryce can do that. We saw it. We just saw it on the last tape. If you watched it, get your feet set and go. CJ's really good when he gets his feet set. I do think sometimes he rushes those mechanics, and that's where sometimes CJ can definitely be in trouble. But again, steps up. This was, his best, I would say, best throw, I guess, of the night. Besides the one to Mayan, he's able to score that touchdown and do it there. And I thought over time, like after this throw, they kind of settled in a little bit. He played a little bit better as we went through the game. And you'll see this last throw here with Herbie. Herbie's clicker. Gotta love Herbie. But again, this kind of reminds you of a throw he had with, I think it was Olave or Wilson last year. Again, steps up, able to get there. He's getting pressure too and able to get it to him. So overall, I thought it was it was a fine performance. Like we talked about, 2 touchdowns. He led his team to a top 5 win. I think as they get better in their offensive system and know how those receivers are going to look with their option routes and everything there, I'm not that worried about CJ. I do think it's him and Bryce, top 2 quarterbacks. I think that in C2C or Devi or whatever, you still want CJ above like Anthony Richardson and those guys. I know Richardson had a good week, but I think we need to temper our expectations a little bit there. So I appreciate you guys. Let me know. Let me know in the Discord if you're in there. Let me know in the comments here. What do we think of CJ? Are you worried about him, or where you at? I don't think you should be. He's a top 2 guy. Unfortunately, as a Michigan fan, I gotta admit that. But I appreciate you guys. Please let us know. Hit that like button. If you listen to the pod, go listen to the pod. Please go on there. Give us a review. Leave us a 5-star. We appreciate it.